Wyatt Arndt. Wyatt, to open things, I'm going to pull up. Oh, I forgot he has an intro.
Let it ride, boys. There it is. It feels good, right?
It does.
The only thing that feels better than that is a nice spicy chicken burger from Wendy's. That's all. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Beautiful. I apologize. I genuinely forgot you had an intro. So,
boys, how's it going? What can I do for you?
Good. So I need your help.
Sure.
I need to pick the final pick for the week for me on Wendy's Daily Faceoff Survivor. I've made it 3 of 4 rounds. There's only 25 people left in the game. I am one of those 25. It's tomorrow's game. Can you pull it up here, Grady? These are all the options I have to pick from, and I wanted to get your guys' opinions on it. So San Jose to win. Oh, Wyatt, we're getting feedback. Can you turn down your headphone volume there?
I don't think I... Oh, hold on. I'll crank it down. There we go. Is that better?
So San Jose to... Yeah, it's better. San Jose to win. New York over 4.5 goals. Vegas, I'm not going to read them all, but I'm leaning toward Wyatt Johnston to pick up a point tomorrow. I think that's going to seal the week for me. Do you have a pick for me that you want to that you want to stake your claim on?
Honestly, I'm on my phone. I'm not in the club with John Hamm tonight, so I can't even see the screen. So I'm just going to go with your gut. Quads, whatever you're going with, I'm behind.
Perfect. That's all I need to hear. Wyatt Johnston. Okay. A lot of Canucks topics to get to, Wyatt. So let's do that. Jim Rutherford gets his extension. Just your initial reaction to that big news of the day.
Yeah, I mean, we're in this weird world. Like you guys were talking about Travis Green versus Tocchet, and it's kind of like it's a great debate to be had. I think for me the main difference is Tocchet because I think some fan sent me a clip and it was like Mike Keenan talking about Rick Tocchet as a player and how he's like an emotional leader. I think Tocchet has the ability to kind of connect to the players that Green didn't have. But overall, it's, when a team wins, everything looks good. And especially when they're riding this heater, like everything looks fantastic. So it's really easy to kind of want to keep that going. And for me, the big interesting part will be like, if this team struggles, like, will the narrative around Tocchet change? Because right now, anything he touches is gold. But when they struggle, we'll see what happens. So in terms of Rutherford, it's kind of the same thing. Like, how do you not extend that? Like, you could talk all day about like when's things going to fall apart. But end of the day, the team has done tremendously better than it has in a decade. And you're going to reward that. So I feel like that was a pretty easy slam dunk kind of signing from the Canucks, to be honest.
When you look back at Jim Rutherford's tenure with the Canucks so far, is there a move that stands out to you as underrated or something that was really instrumental to the success that they have right now that maybe we don't highlight as much?
I don't think there's like a secret ingredient that we're all missing in this one. Like, I'm not gonna be like, hey guys, guess what? I've done the research. It's this one small thing. But I will say for me, the biggest thing has kind of been finding those wins in the bottom 6. And again, that's not like that's a secret. We've all talked about it, but that has been a huge transition for this club that has in the past overspent money on the Jay Beagles and the Anton Russells of the world. And it's sets up a very interesting move forward because we look at someone like Dakota Joshua, who's having a fantastic season. Bluger, fantastic season. They're part of what is now being recognized as the best third line in the league by many people. 2 of those guys are free agents heading into the offseason. So all of a sudden they can cash in. All of a sudden they're going to make, hey, maybe they get $3 million, $4 million. Now all of a sudden they're part of that old guard of now, are you overpaying for that type of player? So, the big part for me would be like, well, was that like lucky? Did they just strike gold, or are they just the pro department is like locked in? They're able to recognize the players they want and kind of bring them in, like that kind of that Tampa Bay style, bringing the guys when they're affordable and then move them out when they're not. Is that something Vancouver kind of stumbled into, or is that something they actually keyed in on? And that for me is the big interesting part kind of, for the future. Like, will they be able to, replace, like say Joshua wants a ton of money or Bluger wants a ton of money. They're going to need to find guys to replace that and kind of move in the lineup, especially with OEL's contract going to hamper the team a bit for the next couple of seasons.
Speaking of contracts hampering the team, Andrei Kuzmenko gets benched for all of the third period last night. Wyatt, this quote came from Rick Tocchet today at practice. I'll read it for you just in case you haven't heard it. This is what Tocchet said. We're coaching the hell out of him. Unfortunately, I just didn't think he was skating well enough to warrant us playing him in that third period. Then he was asked about the lineup tomorrow night against Toronto, and he said, I don't know what I'm going to do with him yet. He has a lot more. He said a lot more. Like, he spoke a lot about Andrei Kuzmenko, but just your initial thoughts on that quote and kind of the whole situation with him and Rick Tocchet.
It's a tough one because it's almost like they see more in him. That's why they give him the tough love, because we've seen what he can do. He is a goal scorer. We know that. And he performed very well last year. This year has probably been, obviously his worst NHL season. So you wonder, like, where between those two seasons does the real Kuzmenko lie? And is it a case where, like, he excels in that, like, that's always kind of the thought, like, oh yeah, put him on like a crappy team, he'll get his 30 goals where there's no structure, it doesn't matter, he can go to town. But for a team that has designs in the cup or making the playoffs, that plays a tighter system, can he survive in that? And right now it hasn't been the case. And maybe it's a confidence thing. Like, he obviously, we talk about how, like, this guy is happy, he's always smiling. Like, he has not been smiling for a good month now. He's just, his confidence does look rattled. I mean, that whole second line is, well, quote unquote, second line is like an issue for the team, because I like Suter. I think he's fine, but Mikheyev has escaped the radar because he's not doing much either. So you now have Mikheyev and you got Kuzmenko, but I think Kuzmenko's mistakes are more visual, especially because, like, you're almost, the spotlight's on him all the time now. Like, I see it from the fans online, people talking, like, he makes one mistake and everyone's like, oh, like I do it too, like, oh, that's going to cost him. Like, you can't help but now look at Kuzmenko and have everything he does is under the microscope. Whereas Mikheyev just kind of like skates along and gets away with anything. And it's not that he's playing badly, but you know what I mean? Like, that's the second line, in these games, they're not doing anything of note. So Kuzmenko, the question is, can you salvage him? And like we've seen with someone like Garland and Besser, they're not the same situation, but the same sort of thing. Whereas it looked like they were on the outs. In Besser's case, his game, he obviously had the off-ice stuff, but he also kind of changed his game a bit. Garland, I think he just struggled and kind of found his role in the team. I don't think Kuzmenko is ever going to find that third line role that Garland had. He's never going to be that creative, forechecker. He is a goal scorer at the end of the day. I don't know if he's ever going to thrive in Tocchet's system. Like, I've tried to keep an open mind to it, but honestly, at this point, it feels like his future's elsewhere.
Okay, so there was this quote that I also want your reaction to from Jim Rutherford this morning on the topic of Andrei Kuzmenko. He said, I don't know what we do more than what the coaching staff has been doing. He's lost his confidence. He's a good player and he can score. There's no doubt in my mind, whether it's in Vancouver or another NHL city, he will score. Your reaction to that quote?
I mean, that's a good, kind of management quote, because you kind of paint it as, hey, this guy's a scorer. We all know it. He just might need a fresh start. So if you're trying to trade another team, hey, man, confidence is a bit low. You can fix him. We couldn't fix him, but you can, sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, those quotes, not that they're damning, but they are pretty heavy-handed in terms of, like, maybe management kind of told Tocchet, like, make this work, but now they're like, you know what? Coaching staff has done everything they can. Like, that to me is like, yeah, what more can you do? And that's not the greatest statement to hear as a player, but at this point, it is like, you can't hide the Kuzmenko problem. Like, everyone's seeing it. Tocchet's not going to force him into the lineup. The team's winning. You're not going to do. There's only so much you can do. So honestly, I thought for sure there'd be a bit of turnaround. I knew there'd be a bit of a dip from last season, but I keep thinking, like, for this team and for all the talk of what they want to do in the playoffs, and I really have a hard time seeing Kuzmenko in that vision.
Why? What you make of Nikita Zadorov last night, challenging Liam O'Brien, feeding him his lunch? I've got to be honest, I was at the game. That's probably one of the loudest moments I've heard the Rogers Arena crowd this season.
Yeah, Zadorov 316, baby. Yeah, there is something to be said about that, because, at the end of the day, like, hockey is a game of skill, and we always talk about fighting in the game and big hits, but that primal instinct of hockey is always there. And so, like, when your guys kind of get, especially with Liam O'Brien, like, dropping his gloves and punching Lafferty, and Lafferty not, wanting to go, and he punched him 3 times, right, with his bare knuckles. Like, your sense of justice as a human being just comes to the forefront. So to have Zadorov go out there and be like your gladiator, like, it's old Roman times at this point, right? You're like, okay, there's my champion, go out and beat the crap out of that guy. And he did. Like, and then in the penalty box, he's telling him, like, I just beat the bleep out of you. Like, in terms of just, like, having a guy that goes out there, like, he's not just a pure enforcer. Like, we don't, that days are gone, but like, he's been playing well for the Canucks, and he stands up for not just the Petterssons of the world, but also your Laffertys of the world. Like, that's a guy that they're going to love in the room, right? Like, and as a fan, as you're watching, like, obviously he's going to get the crowd into it, because, it's been a while since we've kind of had a guy that's been out there and has, like, willfully defended. Like, Luke Shannon did that for a while. He got some of the same cheering, but, like, there's a different element when it's like a 6'7" beast of a man beating up this guy that went after your players, right? It's just a visual spectacle. And, like, yeah, I have no doubt the crowd was jacked for that.
Okay, Wyatt, who's going to win the footballs this weekend? The Buffalo Bills are facing the Kansas City Chiefs. They're in Buffalo, right?
Yes, they are. It's the first road game for Mahomes in Buffalo in the playoffs. The Buffalo Bills have a ton of injuries on defense, and I have my worries. And the Buffalo Bills always find ways to make me very, very sad. But that's when they'll do their best, when I expect the least of them. So I'm assuming the Chiefs win, and then I have to watch, more coverage of Mahomes winning over my Bills. But I'm going to hold out hope that the Bills can do this, and that Josh Allen has his Jordan versus the Pistons moment and kind of finally beats them.
I hope Taylor Swift's there. What's your favorite Taylor Swift song, Wyatt?
Oh, I don't even want to talk. I can't. I just. It's not again like it's a weird topic. It's touchy because it talks. Like, I don't have nothing against Taylor Swift whatsoever.
Good.
But if you put anyone on TV repeatedly when your team's losing, I don't want to see that. That becomes an element of sadness to me. Like it could be Harmon appearing on my phone every time the Bills lose, and I'm gonna eventually hate Harmon. Okay, that's just how it works.
You become Willie Desjardins when you start doing that.
Yeah.
Wyatt, thanks so much for doing this, man. Have a good weekend. We really appreciate you taking the time today.
Thanks, boys.
Canucks Conversation with Harmon and Quads every weekday at 2 p.m. Be sure to check it out on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. And if you missed it, go check it out on your favorite podcast catcher app.